commander and the ops officer came in, and they said, Swindner, do you want to fly the 100? And I said, yes, sir. And he says, okay, you're going to fly tomorrow morning. Al Squires is going to be your IP. I have never gone through any kind of ground school or anything for the F-100. I had no idea even how to start the damn thing. I went all over the BOQ looking for -1, you know, the operator's manual. Nobody had one. So the next morning I go down to the flight line, and there's Al Squires, and he's a kind of a grizzly old guy. He was a Korean vet, so he had some time behind him, so to speak. We went out to the airplane, and it's single seat. They didn't have any two-seaters. And I got in, strapped in. He went through some switches, and he said, well, we don't have to worry about emergency procedures because we're not going to have any emergencies. I said, great, that's really fine. So he said, okay, this is how you start it. And we started, and he says, now don't do anything until I call you on the radio and check in. A few minutes later, he called for check-in. I called to get on the runway. I got on the runway and ran the airplane up. And keep in mind that I had flown nothing but the back seat of a T-Bird up to this time, which is not really a very hot accelerating airplane when you're taking off. So he's chasing me, and I looked over, and he said, let's go, let's go. I released the brakes and lit the afterburner, and I felt like I was just back in the BOQ someplace. I was so far behind that airplane, it was unbelievable. It was a real kick in the ass. And I remember him saying 145. And so I said, I think that's when I'm supposed to rotate, get the nose wheel off the ground. So 145, I pulled it back, nose wheel came up, and I got airborne and started flying. And the C model doesn't have any flaps. So we used to call it the world's fastest tricycle at that time. I mean, it zipped along the ground pretty good. Next thing I hear is, it'll go faster if you pick up the gear. That's how far I was behind the airplane. I didn't even pick up the gear. I reached over and pulled the gear up, and it did go faster. And then he said, go trail. I go back there, about 4 or 5 shipwrecks behind him. Pretty soon we're diving toward the ground, toward the mountains, the Atlas Mountains. I could see a bunch of tents and things down there. And we went supersonic and pulled out, and he says, God, I love to do that. And what he had done is he's supersonic, and he blew those tents down. It was an Arab nomad tribe, I guess. And I'm thinking, man, I hope we don't have to bail out. There won't be much of a trial or anything. They'll just probably hang us right then and there.